and I welcome you all on behalf of KidzLive. Hope you all are in pink of your health. As we had promised to make you meet new people while sitting at home, we are back yet again with another episode of KidzLive. Most of us must have a question in our mind. Why should we invest time in dreaming? But suddenly at a point, we are unable to answer this. Today, we have with us Mr. Ravi Kikan to enlighten his views on this topic. Welcome, Ravi.
Hi.
Ravi is currently leading the marketing and approach for ZingHR, which is an HR tech venture with over 1 million users globally. Also, he has been a part of startups with successful exits and have led startup operation in a CXO role. He is passionate about writing books to inspire and support startups and aspiring entrepreneurs. Welcome once again.
Thank you, Misra.
We also have with us Mr. Amit Misra. Amit is an entrepreneur and enabler in the Indian startup ecosystem for almost a decade now. He advises companies on the Indian entry strategy. He is also a TEDx speaker and works closely for some government initiatives too. Welcome, Amit.
Thank you, Nishta. Thank you so much. And welcome, Ravi. Thank you for taking out time and spending us on a weekend. I think the concept of weekends is over in the last 5-6 months. We don't know.
I agree. Sundays become the new Monday, actually.
Actually, correct. Right. So let's start
Sure.
with childhood. And I know you from last few years. We have kind of came in the same ecosystems. We have been helping each other in different things also. What was your childhood look like, right? And how you think everything which you did in childhood and during your colleges has impacted whatever you're doing today?
It's very strange, Amit, that when you're a kid, and I'm talking about kid in 80s, typically that we were, there were only 3 options available, and we were told either you become an engineer, or you become a fighter pilot, or you become a doctor, or there was no fourth option, and probably government service was the only 4th option that everybody could look into, right? Having said that, I came across from a very small town, and the only thing that I dreamt of was that I need to move out from a small town and probably get a fancy good job, right? I did not want to become an engineer, though all my cousins are. But I did my science. I did get good grades in 12th and 10th standard. However, I picked up something that I really wanted to do. So, for example, till about 7th standard, I did not know how to speak in English, right? I was afraid of I had a stage fright. I couldn't speak and talk and pronounce, and there was a phobia against the word English. Though I was in a convent school, but I always had a phobia. So the first instance that I had was, will I be able to speak in English someday? It sounds surprising, but that's a small town mindset that you have, that if I can speak fluently, it'll be one win in my life. Gradually, I had a great English teacher. She helped me cross in getting over this fear, and I started somehow had an affinity liking English and had an affinity for the language. Surprisingly, after 12th, doing science, everybody around me was going to engineering. I was a science student. Everybody wanted to go. I chose English as my subject in my, on graduation, because I liked English. I wanted to do that, right? Having said that, people consulted me, said, there's no scope after this. There's no professional. This is not a professional course. It's primarily for women. English is primarily for, women who want to settle out. They want to do MA after that and all that stuff. But I chose to do English because I wanted to do it, right? It was a little pessimistic for people out around me, doing English honors, but I chose that. Having said that, it is very surprising that all these years later, when I'm writing books, I understand that those small little things that I used to like, or I adopted as a learning, I'm using that right now to maybe influence or maybe write or express myself better for people to understand. So the bottom line of this entire story is that if you like something, if you're a kid, if you like something, you can always make a career out of it. But before that, you should love what you're doing, and might be if you like what you do and you love what you do, chances are that money and fame and power, etc., these all will follow it. But the first line of engagement for anybody or a kid who's in 5th standard or 7th standard or 10th standard or a college or doing an MBA is to like or love what you do. First you have to like it, and then you have to love it. So I think I had a fair go at my understanding in terms of what I wanted to do. I have done it, and I'm happy that I pursued it.
Right. Interesting. I think I have a similar story. I think in my 10th standard, I just left. I wanted to pursue science, right? With 0.2%, I was not able to pursue because I was not able to convince my principal. There was a confusion, and it was just because I was not able to convey my message in English. I think that's more of
Okay.
I hold it that grudge for years and years, and today I'm at peace with it. I think because of that, whatever I'm doing today, I probably would have been an engineer in HCL or whatever if I
Correct.
right? And everything happened for a reason.
Right.
We are interviewing her, I think, in 2 weeks. The principal, so I'm letting it go, which is also very important. The
Very
grudge,
true. Very true.
right? So yeah, I think these are all learnings which we can look back and connect the dots. Sometimes it's become difficult when you are in that moment. Uh, Talking about this history, you have been an ecosystem enabler and entrepreneur for many years. How do you think entrepreneurship has evolved in the last, I would say, a decade?
See, Amit, I've worked across the tables. I've worked for people. I've worked for myself. I have worked for a cause. I have worked without a cause for profits and non-profits both. So, if you put all things across and to simplify it, you know, doing your own business, and that's what entrepreneurship is all about, or working with somebody who has his own business are two different things, but they teach you different mindsets. The biggest thing that entrepreneurship guides you is resilience. That's
True.
I think one of the key things that anybody who's wanting to be an entrepreneur teaches you. Second is getting over the fear of failure. The biggest hindrance for anybody, a human being actually, irrespective of the age that they are in, चाहे वो 10 साल का हो, 20 साल का हो, 30 साल का हो, and whatever age group that they are in, the biggest fear is fear of failure. Ki main, if I do this, I will fall down. What will happen after this? My father will look down on me. My colleagues will look down on me. My money will go off and all that. So entrepreneurship technically teaches you or makes you stronger to get over the fear of failure, right? Running and understanding and seeing things around reduces the chances of failure. So you have to keep your eyes and ears open and learn from people. So working with people, with entrepreneurs, helps to reduce the fear of failure, because chances, when you reduce the chances of failure, the chances of success automatically increase, though they're not directly proportional, but they increase. So there are two ways. One is it teaches you resilience when you do your own work, but if you work for somebody who's an entrepreneur, typically that's where your journey starts, then it teaches you how to overcome the fear of failure, right, and become a little resilient in terms of approaching things, and you become a little self-reliant, which is the most important thing, because after that you can face everything and anything across in the world. And I think that is the core thing of any individual, or a person, whether a man or a woman, to get across in the world and probably do their own thing. So resilience, fear of failure, because falling down is not failing. It is the fear of not getting up from there that is more troublesome. So I think that these are the three things that I have learned in my journey, and I think I'm happy understanding and unlearning and relearning on that.
With all this experience, you have written 2 books on startups and entrepreneurs. What was your journey from starting the first one, and how now you're working on the third one?
Yes, ma'am. So, see, the point is, the first book when I wrote, the biggest learning that I understood was that people have a perception that startups fail because they can't raise funds, right? Any entrepreneur fails because he can't raise funds. No, that is not the reason why most of the startups globally fail. Most of the startups and small businesses fail in the world because they do not have a product market fit. That means, to simplify it, they don't validate their business idea before they launch it in the market. Do they have a paying customer? Do they have they identified some paying customers who are willing to pay for the product or service, right? Do they have a product market fit? Means जो product वो launch करना जा रहे हैं market में, उसका कोई market है कि नहीं है? is there a market for that or not, right? And there are some validation tips that are important, economies of scale, etc., which I have seen over time where have made the difference between success and failures. So I said the biggest problem in the world for startups is not anything but how to validate their startup idea, right? So I wrote my first book, which was the how to validate your startup idea, and which carries tips and actual tips from my own understanding and experience, and about 20-30 odd entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, and venture capitalists who gave their ideas in terms of how to validate your startup idea, right? So anybody who's trying to launch a new business or a new vertical or starting a new small business should ideally read that kind of book. The second book I wrote during this pandemic was inspired by seeing things around, floating in pessimism, right? For specifically for entrepreneurs and small businesses, or for individuals as well. Depression, understanding what will happen tomorrow. We don't have a cure for this. Economy going down. All these factors which are happening outside. They tend to affect individuals as an entrepreneur, also as an individual also. So how to come over, this fear of failure or fear of unknown or unforeseen at times, and bounce back in life and business, so this, and create a growth mindset. So the whole objective is how to cross over this, curve of uncertainty and believe in yourself to bounce back in both life and business, right? So this more of a motivational tips for growth, how to handle things, how to pivot in life, etc., and come over it. The third book that I'm planning to write now, and is focused on how to raise funds for startups, right? Because that's one of the key things that they want. Thankfully, there are about many serial entrepreneurs, multimillionaires who have done serious exits, or also who have contributed to this, are contributing to this book along with me. And I'm assuming that this book will help a lot of startups and small businesses across the world in finding out the answer in how and when should they raise funds for their company or small businesses worldwide.
Indeed, we should definitely wait for your next book to come up and we'll read it, since it creates a lot of new things for entrepreneurs and individuals also.
Sure.
There is a saying that dreams comes true. How do you think a new entrepreneur should make this a reality?
Disha, the first thing that any entrepreneur or a startup, irrespective of the age that they are in, should understand that, if you can only dream, the first step is also dreaming. Dreaming is not a bad thing, but then there is an execution along with the dream that has to be there, right? Wishful thinking doesn't give you a lot of results. There has to be a certain amount of execution in terms of getting things done. So here's my 2 cents on this. If you have an idea, right, you're thinking about it, first understand and validate the idea or whatever the idea that you have in terms of business, as a business, for profits or non-profits, whatever it is, right? If you have validated that your idea, then probably go to your paying customers and probably, or if it's not for profits, if it's for philanthropy or social cause, then go to the prospect target audience, validate the idea with them, understand who the target audience is, and then discuss your idea, come back to the drawing table, improve your product or services, and start going. See, do not spend too much time in thinking and visualizing how will you do, because there's no ideal time and ideal place to launch a product or service. But the only logic that it defies is that you need to have a right mindset and right validation for your dreams as an idea or a business, whatever you have. So validate your dreams or business, whatever you have, in the target audience, and then move ahead. And there's nothing wrong with dreaming, nothing wrong. But then you have to execute those dreams in proper format and not just keep them in the head. You have to take out of the head and then put them into action.
So Ravi, when we were talking about getting you on as a guest on this, I love the idea that you wanted us to talk about why do people need to invest in dreaming.
Yes.
And and I think the older generation has always said, that stop dreaming, do things. But here you are talking about investing in dreaming, right? So how do you think this should be inculcated as a habit of, of connecting with whatever we want to achieve?
Amit, this is a very pertinent thing, and I think the new school of thinking should put into more focus in terms of the positive aspects of dreaming. Dreaming is not a negative thing, right? It was always known as a negative thing that stop dreaming, start doing. These kind of quotes. But they are good, but dreaming also comes with a caveat that if you first of all you need to understand the importance of visualization. So when we talk about design thinking, which many people will understand in the group, might not even understand, but the focus is when you talk about say think concepts like design thinking, you basically are visualizing whatever you have to do, right? So if you can visualize what you see, if you can visualize what you want to do, and if you can visualize what kind of changes that you want to make, right? Or what are the gaps that you want to fulfill with your product and service, and that's what all business is all about. You're fulfilling a gaps, you're fulfilling some promises, you're fulfilling a market need, etc., etc. If you can only visualize, and dreaming is all about putting visualization into perspective. The only difference is those dreams are constructive. If those dreams are innovative, and those dreams are the in a zone of perfection once they are put into action. So if your dreams are not something which is not put into action, that remains a fallacy only. That remains a what you call as a whiteboard thought. But you have to bring those whiteboard thought. First, you have to do a whiteboard thought. You have to visualize what you want to do or what you can do. And once you've done that, then it is time to action it out. So it's very important, very, very important that you think about it. See, Amit, it is like if I want to, okay, here is an example I want to give you. I spent my whole of my almost my late 20s and early 30s in obesity. I was about 110 kgs, right? I had high blood pressure. I had a little bit of problems in my movement. But then when I thought that this is the end of my life. I'll have to spend my time in just eating and living my life. But then I once dreamt. I said, why can't I be fit and why can't I run a long distance? I thought about it, and it was in my early 30s, right? It took me 9 months. I lost all my weight and started running half marathons. I did 6 half marathons in my early 30s, and I finally did a full marathon in Mumbai in 2013 after losing about 40 kgs from where I was to do it. Now, was it a big deed? No. Did I win a prize? No. Uh, was it a ego booster? Hell yes, it was. If I can do it as a normal human being where I can lose weight and I can run that thing but what is the core thought behind it? The core thought behind it was I thought, I dreamt, and I put that into action. And I think these three things, if they go together, but you have to think first, you have to dream first, and you have to dream positively, right? That I want to climb my Mount Everest. Nobody stops you. Go climb Mount Everest, right? But then you have to work hard for it as well. But first thing is to dream about it, right? If you don't dream, how do we action it out? So my perpendiculars into that theorem goes that if you put an x and y, the x has to be dreams, right? And y has to be action, and then you can put a perpendicular onto it. Otherwise, it doesn't work, because if you can't dream, you don't have a visualization. You don't know what to do. Then you're basically a luck-based kid. Things will happen. I will do it. I don't know. But you see, if you can't put luck all the time, there's always a 90% perspiration, your hard work that works onto it. But then you have to dream about it and then get it done.
Success. Hard work is the key to success, I must say. As you have mentioned, like first you have to dream, then you have to execute. What if when we are dreaming and after the execution it didn't work as we planned? What advice would you like to come with at?
Nishna, it is never the end of the world, right? When you, as I said, falling down is not failure. Falling down is a step towards success, because you learn when you fall down. So when you visualize things that you want to do in life, you create a bucket list for yourself, saying, I want to run a marathon. I want to play badminton for my state. I want to do judo for my country. I want to paint. and be a better artist, nobody is stopping you. Nobody can. If you look at inspirational videos, inspirational talks, you will find that there are humongous people around the world. In spite of their mental or physical challenges, whatever they have faced, they have done such amazing things that we should be sorry about having everything with us but still not be able to do it because we've not thought about it. Those guys, those men and women across the world are the ones who probably have thought about it. They have dreamt about it. So only if you can dream about it, you can get them into action. And it is only people who dream about it and have heart and their mind put into that dream for execution are the people who get success. They might fall down once. That's fine. You learn from your mistakes and get up again. So it's always said, you fall down 7, you get up 8. You do not have to. It's not the end of the world. It is not that the clouds will fall down or you'll be shattered. That's fine. It's a learning, right? People, Usain Bolt, for example, if you look at his previous videos, um, he did not win for the first time, right? He participated in a couple of them and then he came on to become the fastest man in the world. Michael Phelps, he started up on a small note and look very, 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 he dreamt about becoming a best woman in the world, probably, right? He worked hard for it. You can't take that from them. These are great examples because this is the most competitive sport in the world, the Olympics, right? And if you see the champions in the Olympics, they are guys who worked hard for it. But then the first thing was they dreamt about it and they worked equally hard for it. And did they fail? Yes, they failed. Did they rise up? Yes, they rose up. How many times? 1, 2, 3? Many times. Some even have done it 4, 5 times, in the local challenge, but they worked for it. So coming back to the main question, you see, falling down is not failure. It is the non-ability to rise up and stand up is the failure. And for that you need a mindset which is positive, a mindset which is growth oriented, a mindset which thinks that you can do things.
So I must say we should work fixed mindset to a growth mindset. We should always
Correct.
work on that.
Yes, positive as well, because growth mindset means I will always look into the positive angle of things. I will always look into not my failures, but my lessons from my failures. Actually, these are not failures. These are basically I fell down. These are not failures. I fell down. There's a lesson. I will not repeat those lessons. I will improve myself to be better. I will look into how challenging times could be and I prepare myself mentally and physically, right? Because both things have to go in tandem. It's not just you can be physically be fit. You have to be mentally be fit and agile to get things done, right? If you're not, then things don't happen. So agility of getting things done in life or work or business or whatever, or your classes or your school or your college, is the agility to think that you can do things and then you go ahead with it.
So our elders always say us to dream big, but do you think one should always be realistic about this realistic approach?
Come again, please. I've missed the first part.
Sorry. Our elders always tell us to dream big, but how do you think one should always be realistic about this entire approach?
Okay, here's my question, and here's my answer to that question only. See, dream big means you need to put some kind of goals and purpose, for yourself. Goals means I want to become an IAS officer. That might be a goal in life, but that might not be your purpose. Purpose is something bigger than this. Purpose might be I want to help 10,000 people to become self-dependent. That could be a purpose. But your goal could be I want to become an IAS officer and change 10,000 lives. So your goal and purpose are interlinked and interdefined, right? However, to simplify these things and to keep a simple perspective, when our dad and mom tell us, you should dream big. When you dream big, you have to work hard towards those big dreams as well. But then if you break up your dreams into small little milestones, right, you might be able to get to the bigger dream. Right? For example, if you want to become an IAS officer, right, the first thing that you need to understand is what are the kind of subjects that I want to choose in my IAS, for example, right? So am I interested in those subjects? Have I some interest in them? So I found out that geography and statistics are important. For example, I'm just giving example. I'm not getting into details. So geography or statistics अच्छे मेरे को लगते हैं. I would want to do it. So will I pick up my job? So I will pick up arts in my 12th, 11th and 12th, right? I would probably study in 11th to 12th in arts and understand and focus on statistics and geography and interrelated subjects, right? Then in my graduation, for sure, I will pick up bachelor in arts so that I focus on these subjects and put my some timelines into it that I will make these as my key core subjects, right? So my first hurdle of getting to that zone is taken care of, right? If imagine if I would have, but the hindsight story is he was a doctor. He still gave geography and statistics as exams and he cleared his UPSC exams. Well, that is an interest level as well. There are 1%, 2%, 5% intelligent people, over intelligent, above intelligent, normal intelligent people who do great things. But if you put pedestals in place for kind of milestones that you want to run, then I think the bigger dreams can be done. So coming back to the question, for bigger dreams, it's logical to have small little pit stops and milestones which lead to that bigger dream, and start getting those small milestones at every with a timeline or a fixed date, etc. And maybe no harm in writing them out, saying, look, this is where I want to go in 1 year's time, because 5 years down the line I want to see here. So backward integration, as we say, this is where I want to go. Backward integrate yourself to where you are, create those milestones, and one by one start picking those milestones, and you probably will end up
there. I think these are very relevant, insights and advice, Ravi. I think one last question from, we were talking about elders, asking us to, dream big and stuff like that. The other challenge which at least, our generation, I think the next generation is facing, that parents try to push their dreams. जो हम नहीं कर पाए हमारे बच्चे करें, right? How do you think that can be managed both from a parent and a child perspective?
I'll be very honest about it. My father always wanted me to become an engineer. He still cribs, I'm no more 20, but he still cribs, agar tu engineer hota to maybe you would have become Michael Jordan or something like that. But then I smile and smirk now. 10 years back, I used to be angry. 20 years back, I used to be real furious, if he was asking me the question. Now I smirk and I smile because I think sanity has prevailed, and I understand things and logical perceptions. So here is my view on this, that, it is not bad for parents to dream good things about their kids. I think every parent does, right? As a father, as a mother, they want the best things because what they couldn't do, they probably see that in their kids. But I think the better side of this story is that, what if the kids also tells and helps the parents sometimes in understanding, saying that, look, my sweet spot is not this. My sweet spot is this, right? And shows a proof of concept. Entrepreneur, as an entrepreneurship, in the entrepreneurship board, generally POC jo hota hai, typically proof of concept, is the one that you showcase for yourself, saying that this is the validation. So I think if kids can do a POC on what they are good at or great at, then probably either the hobby becomes their profession, or whatever they are great at becomes their profession, or whatever they want to pursue. For example, if a kid is exceptionally great as a tabla vadak, or plays guitar very well, exceptionally good, and he shows a POC, he's saying, look, I want to start my own band. This is my, and you see, I have done a live gig on YouTube, and it has got 1 million likes or 50,000 likes, and people are willing to pay for show. I think that is also a good career to be in. A kid wants to become a DJ. Yeah? I mean, he likes music. He likes the genre of music. He has got a different slide. And 10 years back, maybe parents बोलते भाई ये तू बैंड में जाएगा क्या, बैंड बजाएगा क्या? नहीं, वैसे बात नहीं है. अभी DJ is a serious profession. It's light profession. People want to be it, but then you have to have the flair for doing it. Not everybody can become a DJ, first of all, right? You need to have a flair for music and understand. So if a kid wants to become a DJ, right, and take it as a profession, he should first show a proof of concept to his parents, because parents को लगता है बच्चा छोटा ही रहेगा. You see, even if your kid becomes 25 or 35, you'll still be कि पर यार खाना खाया कि नहीं खाया, पतला लग रहा है यार, पतली लग रही है, बच्चा यार मोटा सा लग रहा है यार, इसको खाना खिलाओ, एक्सरसाइज, you are concerned about those things. You'll never be satisfied. But the kid has to take up and step up and talk to the parents and take seat and saying, look, here is my proof of concept. I'm great at this. This is the demo of it. You might like it, you might hate it, but that's fine. I want to tell you that I want to pursue this as my career, or I want to pursue it as a serious thing. It might end up in a career, it might not end up in a career, but I want you to support me. I mean, I think that kind of discussions were not there in 80s, started happening in 90s. Now, I think most of the parents, because people who are our age have become parents in life and they understand the kind of chucky that we've gone into. So probably, they understand it better. So I think things are changing, but I think kids have taken to take a front seat in showing their POC in terms of what they're good at. So parents are assured that this kid is not going to become a rickshawala. This kid is going to be a great guy or a great girl, because he's showing or she's showing some proof of concept here, and that's very important, Amit, because I think everybody is assured at the end of the day when you show something which is better than what you thought it would be, right? So I think kids have to take the first stance, and elders, parents, grandparents, etc., have to believe in their kids that he or she can do that thing as a profession or as a hobby or something that they're good at.
Agreed. And I think the kind of opportunities and the kind of career options today have grown to next level. I think
Massive, massive, massive.
right. So I think the parents need to also kind of learn what is happening in the larger ecosystem to handle and to accept the fact that their kid can be a better DJ, better singer, or probably a gamer.
Amit, you'll be surprised. I was into a webinar where I was something like this only, where the audience was school-going kids from 8th standard. I don't know whether you were there on this webinar or not. 8th standard, no, you were not there, I guess. 8 to about 12th standard only, right? School students only. You'll be surprised. A 7th class girl asked me a question where her father was also on the call. She said, "Sir, I have planned. I have seen that you have written this book, How to Validate Your Startup Idea. I have read some surface of the book as well. My father explained it to me. I'm wanting to know what are the online tools to validate your startup idea if it is an online product." 7th class girl. I just said, beta, I will not be able to answer this question right now because this has gone over my head. You're extremely intelligent. Let me just put it across in a webinar which is online. I will answer it back. Come with your dad online. I will answer all your questions. I was so happy. No, the point I'm trying to make was that I was so happy that A, the kid took the initiative. B, her father was supportive. C, her questions were logical as a POC to the point. See, this is where the synergies of the world collide, and as we say, the cosmos integrates with you when you conspire to get things done, right? So I think the kids have to take the initiative more than anything else.
Before ending the session, I would like to thank all the audience who have been watching us on Facebook Live or going through the recording after the session. Thank you, Ravi, for being part of KidzLive show.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you very much. Thanks, Nisha. Thank you very much, Amit. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you so much.
These testing times under COVID-19 situation has created a vacuum and forced us to face times we had never dreamt of. Engaging students has become quite an effort who are forced to stay inside their homes 24/7. This KidzLive initiative, like many others, may help to keep your child engaged and updated. If you want to acknowledge more topics, you may write to us on our Facebook page or on our website, Kidzpreneur.com, and feel free to put any suggestions. Thank you everyone for being the part of KidzLive show. Thank you very much, Ravi and Amit, once again for joining the show.
Thank you, Nishta. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Amit and Nisha. Bye-bye.